So in this case, we're going to be dealing with the vertex angle bisector conjecture. And here's what the vertex angle bisector conjecture tells me, which is why it's important to know these things. It says that if this is an isosceles triangle, which it is because the base angles are congruent, so the converse of the isosceles triangle conjecture would say if the base angles are congruent, it means that this triangle is isosceles. And those two sides are congruent. It says that when I bisect the vertex angle, this ends up being an altitude because it's perpendicular to the opposite side, and it also bisects the opposite side. So this is also a median. So if the distance from A to E is 3.5 centimeters, from D to C is a little bit problematic unless you look at this larger triangle, this other triangle, and realize that it has to be equilateral. And if it's equilateral, the measure of each of these angles is 60 degrees. So the measure of each of these angles down here has to be 60 degrees, which only leaves 60 degrees for this larger angle, which means this is also an equilateral triangle, the larger one. So if this is 3.5, the full length would be 2 times 3.5. And yes, I show all of my work because thinking my thought process here. This would be 7, and since this is an equilateral triangle, this also has to be 7 centimeters. And the measure of angle ADE, well, it's going to be the 60 degrees divided by 2 to get my 30-degree angle. Again, this has to be a bisector if this triangle is isosceles and this is a perpendicular. Now, from A to B is 7 centimeters. I'm going to have to do that notation down here. 7 centimeters. Oops, didn't need to do that. So they want the distance from A to D. Again, they show me that this is an isosceles triangle. They show me this is an angle bisector, so I know that this is perpendicular and that means it is also a median, so it bisects the opposite side. So if this entire distance is 7 centimeters, then I just take 7 divided by 2 to get 3.5 centimeters. Now the measure of angle ADC has to be 90 degrees, and I didn't have to show any work for that because if this is an angle bisector, it means it forms an altitude. Altitudes are perpendicular to the opposite side.